Today I'll be discussing psychology paper 2 of UPSC optional. So I'll be doing this video again in 2 parts. So let's begin with the first part. Hello everyone, today I'll be discussing psychology paper 2 of UPSC optional. So I'll be doing this video again in 2 parts. So let's begin with the first part. Okay, so the first question is compare the directional and non-directional therapies with reference to their effectiveness. So what you need to do is you need to first talk about the directional therapy, and then you have to also talk about the non-directional therapy. Now, what is directional therapy? Directional therapy is something where everything is predefined. That means your goal is defined, what you have to do. As the name itself suggests that it's a directional therapy, that means you know the direction. So, it's a goal-oriented therapy. You have a clear direction to move. You also know how, when and where. So all this is defined: how, when and which way to go. So all this is defined under your directional therapy. Now what are those directional therapies? Your directional therapies involve your cognitive behavioral therapy, that is your CBT. Then you have your REBT, that is rational emotive behavioral therapy. Fine. So you have to talk about these therapies. Why? Because here you know what is needed to be therapized and what need to be recovered or what need to be done so as to cure that issue in the person. So that is why it is known as directional therapy. Since it is talking about effectiveness, so you can tell here that anxiety disorders, etc., could be effectively treated. Now when it comes to non-directional therapy, here as the name itself says, it's non-directional. That means you don't have a defined direction. Now here what depends is a constant engagement. And this engagement is between the observer, or you say the person who need the therapy, and also the person who you are talking to. So a non-directional therapy is a kind of therapy where there is no defined algorithm, but what is required is constant engagement. So what is the effectiveness if I talk about this non-directional therapy? So it all depends upon how or what kind of questioning is happening, or you can say how much both the people are involved in the process. So it's a both-way process. So both people involvement in the process. Fine. Now you here can talk about CBT, that is cognitive behavioral therapy. Then you can talk about, you can give the importance of emotional intelligence. Then you can also talk about B.F. Skinner, etc. So I leave that portion to you, that like who are you associating with. I'll be telling you how you are going to attend the question part. Fine. Next is give a comparative analysis of positive and negative symptoms of schizophrenia. Now, what you need to do here is you should know about schizophrenia. So, schizophrenia is what? A kind of mental disorder. Now, what kind of mental disorder is? Now, it is a very complex phenomena. And when I talk about it's a complex phenomena, that means there are a wide range of symptoms associated with it. Fine. Now it says that give a comparative analysis of positive and negative symptoms. Now you can say that if it's a mental disorder, then what is the positive and the negative symptoms that you are talking about? So in case of the positive and negative symptom, what you are going to talk about is, see, you are going to talk about the disorganized thinking aspect. For example, the person suffering from schizophrenia is not able to organize the thought process, so disorganized thinking. You can talk about the hallucination process. You can talk about the disorder the person is suffering with, so the person is not able to interpret the speeches, the actions, etc. So you can say the inability of the person to interpret speeches, actions, etc. Fine. Now, other than what you are going to talk about is, for example, when the person is suffering with this kind of disorder, they have a very little sense of motivation. So that could be the negative aspect also, that is reduced motivation to move ahead. Reduced motivation, unwillingness to move. When it comes to positive aspect, then you can say that the emotional construct is very strong. So the person is able to, emotionally is very absorbing tendency. You can talk about the emotionally absorbing tendency of the mind. So the positive could be the emotionally absorption tendency. Fine. This is how you are going to attempt this question of schizophrenia. Next, explain the nature and significance of biofeedback theory. Now, what here you are going to do is, here you are going to talk about what biofeedback are and how biofeedback are related to the different significance this biofeedback theory is going to provide. So see, biofeedback theory, firstly you have to define this biofeedback theory. So in biofeedback theory, the person is able to realize or is able to know how the biological things inside the body are working. So you can say it is actually the realization or the awareness of physiological aspect of body. Fine. Now it talks about the nature. Nature and significance of biofeedback theory. So in nature part, what you are going to write about is, for example, this helps in what? Monitoring. So monitoring regulating and what are they monitoring and regulating? They are monitoring and regulating what your, or you can say your body functions. How? For example, blood pressure, anxiety, etc. So if you know about it, that how the realization or awareness of physiological aspect of your body will help you in governing and maintaining your own body functions well. So monitoring, regulating, you can also say it helps you in what? Monitoring your thoughts as well. So when I talk about monitoring your thought, you can say it's a customized approach for intellectual fine. Now in the significance part, what you are going to do now, since you know how your thoughts are working, how your mental process is working, how your body functions inside are working, you are aware of all these things. So what you can talk about here is that it helps in empowerment, self-empowerment. It helps in focusing on work. It helps you in doing better. So what you can say or what you can talk about is, you can talk about blood pressure regulation, you can talk about psychosocial disorders could be effectively treated. All this thing, it also helps in what? Building emotional intelligence. Building emotional intelligence. Fine. So this was about your biofeedback therapy. Fine. Next is explain the nature of dyslexia or dyslexia. How can it be diagnosed? Now, for that you should know what is dyslexia. It is a condition where the person is, intellectually average or above average, but is unable to read or is unable to interpret things. So, is a condition of inability to read and write. Even though the person is, you can say is average or above average, the intellectual part. Now, this is what dyslexia or dyslexia is. Now, the question says that how can it be diagnosed? So, you explained what dyslexia is. Now, next part it says that you tell about the nature and how can it be diagnosed? So in nature part, what you can do is, since I told you the condition is about inability to read, right? So you can say the nature is that you are not able to, or the person is not able to comprehend things. The person's basic ability of literacy is missing. Fine. Other than that, what you can talk about is that they deal with the issue of what? Issue with the word recognition. You can talk about this with respect to issue with interpreting the linguistic aspects. Fine. Now the question says that how can it be diagnosed, or how can you diagnose this? So you can say that this can be diagnosed through how? If you have a very good observation of a person who or a good psychologist, through observation. So observation part, then you can say any person who has a good ability to interpret the psychosocial disorder, that person can can interpret this issue of dyslexia. Then you can also talk about feedback system. If you are taking the feedback, then also the issue with these people will be voice recognition. So you can find that they are dealing with this issue also. And what is that? Voice recognition issue. There are many multiple methods also. You can go for you can go for the biofeedback theory also. We have just discussed in the previous question biofeedback theory. So you can discuss about that theory as well. Fine. Let's move on to the next question. The next question says, appreciating diversity is considered as a core value for a community psychologist in India. So appreciating what? Diversity is considered as a core value for a community psychologist in India. So firstly you should know about diversity, then you should know about why or what is the core value associated with the community psychologist. So in core value, what you can talk about, they talk about or they believe in inclusivity, they believe in social equity, they believe in building the community capital. So inclusivity, social equity, community capital. Now here you can also talk about what? Fine. These psychologists can also help in dealing with conflicts. So conflicts regarding what? For example, if diversity is there, what is going to happen is that there will be a lot of conflicts among people also, and if not a lot, then somewhere or other it is going to happen. So they will be very effective in treating those or effectively managing those conflicts and interventions. Then you can also talk about conflict interventions. You can also talk about cultural competency. Fine. So this shall help in what? Appreciating diversity by the people who are community psychologists, because they are thinking of these aspects. So these things could be, or these values could be described in detail. Fine. Other than that, if you want, you can address this question also bringing the global aspect. And what are the global perspective? ठीक है. Global perspective, see, because we have talked about Vasudev Kutumkaran, so all this could be written over here. Yeah. Cultural competency, conflicts, inclusivity, social equity, community capital, global scenario. Yes. So you can explain these parameters in detail for the people who are community psychologists. These are the values that are associated with them. The next one is discuss the biopsychosocial model of health. Suggest relevant actions to prevent illness. Now here they are talking about biopsychosocial model of health. That means this model, biopsychosocial. So this model of health helps you in treating what, or understanding and addressing the health and illness parameters. Now what are those? See, a biopsychosocial model of health is a kind of approach. And what is that approach? It helps you to understand the health and illness of the person, or the parameters that are associated to this or to a parameters that are associated to a particular health or illness disorder. Fine. Fine. Now they say that you need to discuss this model of health. So what you can talk about here is that all things that are, that add on to the health of a person. Now these things could be your social parameters also. For example, education part. You can talk about all those social things that are there. For example, you can talk about the status part, class. All this also affects the psychosocial health of a person. So So that could be discussed in this aspect, discussed portion. So here you can add on what the physical health, because if your physical health is not good, then you are not, or then you won't be able to take, or then you will not be able to make your mental health good. So physical health is important parameter. Other than that, the genetics portion also, to whom you are related. Fine. Now they say that you have to suggest relevant actions to prevent this kind of illness. So how you are going to prevent such kind of illness? For example, there were many conditions where people have talked about mental illness because of isolation. So here you can suggest community engagement. You can also talk about stress management. You can also talk about mental health. You can also talk about social circle, because if you have a good social circle, somewhere or other they act as a stress releasing or relieving factor. So stress relieving. Fine. Let's move on to the next part. Explain the assumptions of behavior therapy. Discuss various techniques of behavior therapy to treat phobia. So the question is asking you, explain the assumptions of behavior therapy. Now you should know what behavior therapy is. So what is a behavior therapy? That therapy is talking about emphasizing, or you can say this therapy emphasizes on the behavior part of the person. And how is that possible? If you have what? A good observation. So observable and recognition of behavior. So if the person is able to read on the behavior, you can say it's a behavior therapy. So because based on that you are going to bring on the therapeutic engagement. So that is what behavior therapy is. Now explain the assumptions of behavior therapy. Now what are the principles for this behavior therapy? Fine. So they say that discuss various techniques of behavior therapy to treat phobia. So what are the assumptions? So based on reading and observing your behavior, what you are going to do is you are going to learn the behavior of the person. If you have a good reading tendency, you are going to read the person's behavior. You will how the person is behaving, you are going to observe it. So you have this good observation. Fine. Other than that, what you are going to do is you are going to talk about behavior determinism. You can also talk about reading, learning, observation, behavior determinism. Other than this, you can also write about focusing on the present behavior. Yeah. Keep reading the person's present behavior. Now discuss various techniques of behavior therapy to treat phobia. That means you have to talk about the various behavior therapy. So what are those? For example, first, very simple, you can start with cognitive behavioral therapy. You can talk about flooding treatment. What is that flooding treatment? For example, when the person is exposed to such kind of condition where there is for example, this is a kind of virtual environment that is created, or you can, for that matter, create the natural environment also, where the person is flooded with all those I would say incidences where there's a lot of anxiety, and then you can read on how the person is dealing with it. So that therapy is known as flooding therapy. Now that flooding therapy will help in what? Treating the anxiety disorder. Other than that, what you can talk about is systematic desensitization. Now, what is systematic desensitization? Now, when I talk about systematic desensitization, I would prefer to say that it is, systematically exposing the person to all those kind of situations. So systematically exposing the person to situations. Fine, this is about the assumptions of behavior therapy. Now let's move on to the next question. Explain the characteristics of standardized psychological test. Highlight the limitations of psychological tests. So the question is talking about what? Psychological test. Now what are those? Firstly, you need to define what the standardized psychological tests are. Then they are talking about the characteristic part. So in characteristic part, what you can do is that you can talk about a psychological or a standardized psychological test are the tests that comprise of what? Where reliability is there, where validity is there, reliability is there, validity is there. You can talk about there are standardized norms. There are standardized norms. So if you are having those norms and standards set onto place, that could be one of your standard psychological test. Other than that, what are the characteristics of this? For example, you have you can also say that there is monitoring. Based on that monitoring, what you are going to do is you are going to check the scores. Fine. Other than that, what you can say is that there are test manuals that are attached to it. So test manuals, all these are acting as what? A standardized psychological test. Now the next thing or the next part of the question says that highlight the limitation of such a psychological test. That means what are the limitations? That means 100% objectivity or 100% clarity or 100% result is not possible for anything that matter. Then what are the limitations of this psychological test? So here you are going to talk about the limitation parts. So you can talk about the subjectivity aspect. That means you don't know how the person is dealing with the stress, how the person is reacting to a certain situation, because again, psychologically people, the reaction to a similar problem but varies from person to person because of the psychic things. So that's what I have been saying from the first paper also. So here what you are going to talk about is, now here you will write about Bandura's theory, you will write about Daniel Goleman's theory, you are going to write about B.F. Skinner's theory, you are going to write about Stach's theory, everything. So limitation part, you can say subjectivity is there. Why? Because you have absolutely no idea how the person is going to deal with or dealing with the anxieties. You are you don't know how the person is going to deal with the stress or how the person is dealing with the stress, so that could affect the result. Then you can also talk about since I'm talking about scores, then over reliance on scores. Can also affect the subjectivity part. Then other than this, you can write about the situational part, depending upon which situation the person is. You can talk about the response part. Fine. So all this you can write in this part. Now we shall, here this much is how, see, you will, once you start defining them, you will have multiple, you will have a lot of content. That's what I want to say. I have just given you the key points. The next one is explain Maslow's need hierarchy theory. Critically evaluate the same. Now Just a minute. Okay, so Maslow's need hierarchy theory. Now this is quite a very theoretical question. So what you can do is that you can write about the Maslow's need hierarchy theory. This is a very important theory, and I have discussed in my previous paper analysis about this theory. So that will be covered. Now you have to critically evaluate the same. That means here what you are going to do is you are going to write about the various psychologists who are not agreeing with Maslow's theory. So it's a very theoretical question. This could be attempted easily. Let's move on to the next one. Explain the strategies of rehabilitation of intellectually challenged persons. So here you have to write about the strategies of what rehabilitation of intellectually challenged person. So first you need to define this rehabilitation for intellectually challenged individuals. Now what are the key factors or the strategies for the same? Strategies for rehabilitation of intellectually challenged person. Now strategies may you can talk about what if a person is intellectually challenged. You can write about the role of the caretakers. You can talk about the family. You can talk about the aspects of assessment and the individualized planning. So assessment and individualized planning. Other than that, what you can talk about here is you can talk about education, you can talk about social skills. See, there are multiple strategies are there. For example, you can write about social skill development. You can talk about mental health education. You can talk about behavioral development. Fine. Other than that, you can also write about social skill, mental health, behavior, caretakers, family, assessment. You can also talk about acquaintances, role for what? Monitoring. Other than this, you can write about what? Advocacy, and rights protection. That will also help in rehabilitation of intellectually challenged persons. The next question is discuss the role of psychologists in rehabilitation of victims of domestic violence with special reference to India. So, nevertheless, the cases of these things are witnessed in India in a much abundance, I would say. So, they are talking about the role of psychologists in rehabilitation. So, how this process of rehabilitation will take place and how is it going to be effective. So, what you can write about here is, firstly, Write about the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. You can write about the advocacy part. You can write about the counseling part. You can write about the legal aspect. You can write about the assessment part. You can talk about the traumatic disorder. Traumatic disorder, then education and prevention will also help in that way. So education, prevention. Then counseling I have written, yeah, education, prevention, traumatic disorder, legal, assessment, CBT, advocacy. You can write about support groups and yeah, you can write about support groups. You can write about cultural part also, because that is also effective in rehabilitation of victims if culturally they are counseled. So cultural part as well. Here if you want, you can write about the religious aspect also, because that was also helpful in dealing the traumatic disorders. Then you can mention about group therapy. I told you, no. So group therapy. Multiple theories are there. You can go ahead with as many as you want, and you can explain this in detail. So that will suffice your whole answer. Fine. Let's move on to the next one. The next question talks about discuss the importance and application of ecological theory for program implementation of saving the girl child. That means how ecological theory will help you in implementation of saving the girl child. So again, just a minute. Okay, fine. Now here you can talk about, see, first thing that is going to be very effective is education. Then you can talk about legality. Then you can talk about advocacy. Fine. Other than that, what you can do here is, just a minute. Okay, so now how this theory is going to be effective for saving the girl child? Here you can also talk about what? Community empowerment. Community empowerment. You can also write about empowerment and resilience building. So resilience, etc. Fine. The next question is explain the Bandura's theory of understanding criminal behavior. Now what you can do is you can talk about Albert Bandura's theory, and here you can talk about self-control. Then you can talk about resilience, Then you can talk about mental strength so that you can fight this criminal approach. So mental strength. You can also talk about your moral disengagement. So how much moral disengagement? If morally the person is disengaged, then they are bound to do such kind of habits. So moral disengagement. You can talk about religious breakdowns. Religiously you are not able to associate. Other than that, you can also talk about aggressive behavior, for example stone pelting, etc. All this will be written under criminal behavior. Fine. So yeah, the next part of the question is describe the application of psychological principles in the field of marketing. Now see, they are talking about marketing. What you can do is you can talk about the cultural aspect. You can talk about how these people are what or who are the influencers. So you can write about the influencers, cultural part, influencers. You can write about how the color psychic is also operating, because you have this graphic parts also. So color psychology, they try and use those colors which would be effective. So color psychology is there. Then you can write about the brand trust. Then you can also talk about what online experiences, because online shopping experiences, etc. on e-commerce platforms. So mention about e-commerce. Fine. So in this way you can write about many factors, like do brainstorming, and many more will come. Some are your green marketing, your emotional appeals, the credibility of the brand, etc. Fine. So I'll be taking the next part. Thank you so much.